Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Battle Through the Heavens 2. Rebirth of Emperor Yang Part 4 based on novel. So let's start. If I came here today to get the things in the hinterland alone, do you think you can find it so easily with my strength? If I want to avoid you wholeheartedly, do you think you will have the slightest possibility of discovering me with the hiding means of my ghost break door? The Yinmo old ghost ignored Yuan Qing's doubts, but asked again. Yuan Qing frowned deeply when he heard the speech, and bowed his head to meditate on what the Yang Devil old ghost said. The Yang Devil old ghost was right. With his hiding skill of ghost break door, if he wanted to hide, he might not be able to find it even if he practiced for 100 years, but what did he mean by saying so? Did he really deliberately let me find out and lead me out, trying to take someone to kill me in one fell swoop? At the thought of this, Yuan Qing was overflowing with cold sweat, and the power of the soul involuntarily spread out, and began to explore the atmosphere in the surrounding environment. However, Yuan Qing was not stupid. After a little exploration, he put away the powerful power of the soul, and was not disturbed by a moment's thoughts. He turned to think that since the Yinmo old ghost didn't take his bodyguard with him when he came out, and the Yinmo old ghost knew that it was impossible to kill Yuan Qing here by his own strength, it would be very good not to be killed by Yuan Qing. Then what does the old devil want to do to lead him out? Xiao Yan, who was hiding in the white clouds above the sky, shook his hair and sighed softly when he saw Yuan Qing's thoughtful look. Alas! It is said that the older the man is, the wiser he is, but now I see why Yuan Qing is so stupid. It seems that he is more reluctant to die after living for a long time and becomes greedy for life and afraid of death. Such a simple scam can be caught. He really lives to a dog at this age. A moment later, Yuan Qing looked up at the Yinmo old ghost, stared at him without blinking, and said in a deep voice, "Tell me, what do you want from me? Since you led me here, it must not be as simple as chatting with me." The corners of Yang Devil's mouth hidden under the mask relaxed quietly. Yuan Qing didn't notice because of the cover of the black fog, but Xiao Yan's eyebrows wrinkled slightly, and then the corners of his mouth touched a cold arc. People of the Soul Clan can't change their treacherous temperament when they get there. These guys, no matter where they go, first compare their strength with each other. When they are stronger than each other, they torture you more ruthlessly. However, they will only try their best to use everything around them to attract people's attention, and they are looking at the right time. Like a highly toxic poison, like a snake, she bites you viciously, and then quietly enjoys the painful feeling, which makes her very excited. Looking at Yuan Qing standing still and the three incarnations behind him, the Yang Devil old ghost smiled. "Brother Qing Yuan, there is indeed a heaven and earth treasure in the hinterland of the mountain, but there is an extremely powerful prohibition on the mountain. The heaven and earth treasure I want to come here has long been discovered by powerful people, but it may not be mature at that time. So I leave the prohibition and come to collect it later. You should understand what I mean when I come here." The old devil looked at Yuan Qing with a smile on his face. At the moment, Yuan Qing even became kind to him. Yuan Qing frowned when he heard the speech, looked at the old devil with some dissatisfaction and said, "Do you want me to join hands with you to break the guard and prohibition on the mountain? Why do you get the natural wealth and earth treasure?" The old devil seemed to have realized that Yuan Qing would ask such questions, so he just glanced at Yuan Qing a little and then said, "After I explored the treasure in the mountain, if I expected it to be." At this point, the words in the mouth of the Yang Devil old ghost were a sudden meal. He raised his eyes and looked at the impatient Yuan Qing on the face of the static void. The corners of his mouth under the mask were hooked. Then he continued to say, "Ice and fire zhu guo." As soon as he said this, the world was quiet. Yuan Qing's eyes were wide open. A pair of turbid old eyes were full of uncontrollable excitement and greed. The whole body trembled slightly, and the fighting spirit in his body surged up at the moment. If Yuan Qing hadn't seen the Yinmo old ghost at the moment, I'm afraid he would have been spelled out at the moment when he blurted out his words, "Kill it with all your strength." Bing Huo's fruit is a heaven and earth elixir with extremely harsh growth conditions. Where Bing Huo's fruit grows, it must be the intersection of fire energy and ice energy between heaven and earth. In the growth stage, the ice fire vermilion fruit needs to absorb the considerable ice attribute and fire attribute energy between heaven and earth to reach a balance point, and then grow independently for 100 years. It must be picked immediately at the time of 100 years, otherwise it can only be picked when it grows to 1,000 years and waits for its next evolutionary form. This fruit looks like a vermilion in appearance. Two small lines of fire red and ice blue coil around it, making it as dazzling as a work of art alternating red and blue. Ice and fire conflict with each other and should not melt into one, but I don't know whether it is the strange creation of heaven or the strange fruit itself. The two kinds of energy not only don't burst because of their attributes, but are very harmonious together. It is also the point of ice and fire Xiao fruit. When the fire swallows it into the body, the balance between ice and fire will be broken so as to release tens of times more energy than usual, and fires use this energy to rush through advanced levels. And wherever it grows, all living creatures, except plants, will be deterred by a strange threat of heaven and earth, and dare not touch it in the slightest. Now this situation is just the same. It seems that there is no doubt that it is ice and fire Zhu Gua. Yuan Qing calmed down, stared at the old devil for a long time, looked at the red and white mountains on his side, and finally nodded to confirm it. Come on, how to divide? Yuan Qing didn't talk much and directly asked the two people what they were most concerned about now. The Yenmo old ghost didn't feel it. He knew that Yuan Qing in front of him had been stuck in this cultivation realm for many years. Now he finally knew that his dream was right in front of him. Naturally, he was very anxious. Ha ha, it's easy to say. Since you and I broke the band together, it's natural that one person and half of the things in it are divided like this. Brother Yuan Qing, do you have any opinions? After a little hesitation, Yuan Qing saw a smile on the corner of his mouth and promised, okay, 1.5. After that, they approached the mountain and began to prepare to break the ban on the mountain. Yuan Qing and Yenmo Ghost looked around the whole mountain for a long time, and finally chose a rock wall that looked like some rocks were forcibly dug out by a big hand. They could only allow one person to rest. They stood side by side in the void, forming an angle of mutual attack, but they had a tacit understanding and left a few feet in the middle. Yuan Qing's three incarnations surrounded him well in the middle, forming a perfect guard formation, which made the eyelids under the Yang Devil Old Ghost mask tremble nearby, but he could only look at Yuan Qing reluctantly and keep a good distance from him, so he ignored it. After the repeated exploration of the two people, the prohibition of the depression area here may be because the powerful man often comes to check and rest, so the prohibition is the weakest. After the exploration of the two people, they agreed that it is most appropriate to break the prohibition here. Yuan Qing glanced at the Yenmo Old Ghost from the corner of his eye and saw that it didn't have any small movements. Then he put his eyes on the cliff and hesitated a little. Boom! Yuan Qing's mind moved. One of the three incarnations flew away towards the rock wall, and finally hit the rock wall with a loud bang. For a while, the whole mountain shook violently. Yuan Qing looked at all this with a smile and thought that the prohibition was just like this. The Yang Devil and the Old Ghost had to work together to break it. However, at the next moment, Yuan Qing's face suddenly became dignified. The prohibition on this mountain can double the rebound attack. The incarnation sent by Yuan Qing was shot out of the body, and the original solid body became ethereal. The embarrassed appearance made the Yenmo Old Ghost sneer. Yang Devil, you want to die? You clearly know about the rebound prohibition, why don't you tell me? Don't forget, if my avatar consumes too much energy, I'm not sure to open the prohibition. Then, you and I will not get the treasure in the mountain, but also provoke a powerful man. For your and my old life, I advise you not to play tricks with me, otherwise, I'll go right away. Yuan Qing looked at her body and turned to roar at the old devil with scarlet eyes. Seeing this, the Yenmo Old Ghost gave a sneer and said, Yuan Qing, this is your fault. I wanted to remind you when you ordered your avatar to attack the rock wall just now, but who knows you move so fast. Your avatar flew out before I remind you. How can I blame me? If you really want to give up this ice fire vermilion fruit, I won't force it. You go. It's a big deal. I'll take my ones, it's their blessing to call my men and use their lives to exchange this ice and fire Zhu fruit for me. Ha 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 ha. The Yenmore old ghost knows that Yuan Qing has been trapped in this realm for many years, so he doesn't slow down at all. On the contrary, he has a feeling of indifference. After hearing these words, Yuan Qing's face turned red and his eyelids jumped wildly. His old eyes stared like a copper bell, but in the end he didn't say anything more. It's useless to say more. What's more, now that he is suppressed by others, he doesn't have the deterrent power before. It seems that now he can only cooperate with him temporarily. First break this layer of rebound prohibition, as long as it's prohibited break the system, ha ha. Then let it be. You better tell me what else you know as soon as possible, otherwise you and I can't get the most precious treasure of heaven and earth in the mountain. So I hope you don't hide anything from me, or I'll leave immediately. The big deal is to give up an ice and fire zhu fruit. Yuan Qing said to the old devil in a feigned rage while thinking about the future. The old devil couldn't see it, so he answered a few times and began to break the ban on the mountain together with him. Xiao Yan looked at the two people at the bottom and talked loudly and noisily for a long time. He kept thinking about how to have a chance to explore the mountain peak, which made him feel a little familiar. Now he saw that the two people finally reached an agreement. Xiao Yang looked at them slowly approaching the huge mountain. At this time, they were all focused on the rock wall. Xiao Yang saw that this was a good time to explore. It was Xiao Yang who carefully diffused the power of soul to form strands of thin soul lines, slowly close to the rock wall above Yuan Qing and Yuan Qing. Sure enough, after exploring Xiao Yang's powerful power of soul, he found that there was indeed a thin invisible light curtain on the mountain which wrapped the whole mountain without any loopholes. However, just when the power of Xiao Yang's soul was attached to the thin energy light curtain, Xiao Yang found that in the energy light curtain, there was an extremely violent energy mixed with an ice-cold force in the heat, and this energy was the most familiar energy of Xiao Yang. This violent energy, between heaven and earth, belonged to only one kind of spirit in heaven and earth. Strange fire. This is the power of different fire, but how? How can different fire have such powerful and violent power? Has this different fire existed for thousands of years, or even longer? Xiao Yang felt the familiar breath from the energy light curtain and thought with great horror. No wonder there is a familiar breath here for me and Hui Yi. It turned out that it came from the fighting light curtain. From the strong breath from the light curtain, there is definitely independent intelligence in the strange fire here, but since it is so, why does the strange fire want to use it? Seal yourself here. Under Xiao Yang's careful observation, Xiao Yang found that this prohibition was clearly used to seal something, and the breath of this seal came from different fire, which obviously sealed himself by different fire here. Because if the strange fire is angry, it will not seal the angry object so that it can escape, but will completely blow it into nothingness in the most direct and vicious way. But now, under the exploration of Xiao Yang's soul, the breath of the forbidden light curtain clearly belongs to a kind of strange fire, which means that in this mountain, there is a transformed spirit of different fire. I don't know why he sealed himself here. It's not easy to see the strange fire found by these two people. Maybe there's some strange fire. Tut tut, such a powerful treasure of heaven and earth has to be sealed here. It's really shocking. Now, only the Soul family who claims to be the ghost temple knows what's in the mountain, both of them however, he. Xiao Yang thought that at last, he even gave a bad smile and was almost found by Yuan Qing. Fortunately, nothing happened in the end, otherwise he would be in danger. When Xiao Yangjing calmed down, he attached a trace of soul power to the prohibition, and then closed his eyes and quietly waited for the news of the two below. Boom! In a thunderous explosion, Xiao Yang smiled at the corners of his mouth, slowly opened his eyes and looked down. Did you finally break this rebound ban? Xiao Yang looked at the scene below faintly. Just now, the moment Xiao Yang had been waiting for finally came. A moment ago, Yuan Qing, who was trying to hit the rebound prohibition, suddenly changed his face. The body that had been flying towards the prohibition turned forcibly in the air, and his backhand hit somewhere in the void, and the remaining two incarnations around him also rushed towards himself. Finally, Yuan Qing's palm and a withered palm suddenly appeared from the void were pounded together. After a few breaths, a violent explosion sounded from the two sides. At this time, they were only a few feet away from the mountain wall. Yuanqing and the old devil were the center of the explosion point, and the injuries suffered by them were naturally the most serious. At the same time that the two avatars exploded, the amazing energy storm also swept through a large area of forest. They were also shaken by this force and flew upside down. The prohibition on the mountain wall became shaky. It seemed that the whole mountain could be completely knocked down with only the last blow. It looked very dangerous. At the next moment, Yuanqing's body, which flew upside down and bowed forward, hit the shaky prohibition-like curtain heavily, and only heard a clear sound like glass breaking. The prohibition-like curtain that had shown its power before broke at this moment, but even so, the anti-vibration force that broke out when the forbidden-like curtain collided with Yuanqing's body at the last blow is still to add injury to Yuanqing's injury. On the contrary, the old devil, who just slapped Yuanqing, although he has also suffered some injuries at the moment, it is really nothing compared with Yuanqing's injuries. Cough, cough, cough. You are so mean. Yuanqing looked at the old devil slowly walking towards him, spitting blood out of his mouth, but still cursed with scarlet eyes. At this moment, Yuanqing still looks like a fairy in the beginning. His green clothes are in tatters, and the green robe on his back even has a big hole. The exposed skin on his back is dripping with rubbing blood and flesh, and his face is full of blood. There is a trace of blood dripping from his lips and a large piece of blue robe dyed red. The snow-white hair is also flying in all directions. Several strands of snow-white silver hair are still stained on Yuanqing's bloody face, which makes it look very ferocious and terrible, revealing a chill from people's heart. Jie, old Yuanqing, I don't know how it feels to be hit by my magic Yuntan Qianzhong. Ha ha, the Yang Devil old ghost approached Yuanqing step by step, sneered and looked at Yuanqing Road. At the moment, most of the black fog all over the old devil's body dissipated, revealing a thin body, but his face looked like a winning ticket. Every step of his progress seemed to step on Yuanqing's heart, which made Yuanqing produce a fear psychology from his heart and dare not move at all. Xiao Yan on the sky looked at all this calmly. The fighting spirit in his body kept running in the meridians. He leaned forward slightly, stared at the Yenmo old ghost, and was ready to attack all the time. When they were strong at their level, their perception was already very strong. If they didn't have enough assurance, no one would easily attack, because no one can be sure whether the person you sneaked into still has a backhand, or the other party has found you at the moment of your hand, so even if you succeed in sneaking, it won't have much effect, because since the other party has already found you, how can you succeed? The old devil is still slowly moving towards Yuanqing. He seems to enjoy the feeling of psychological suppression of the enemy, which makes him feel afraid. 3 feet, finally, the Yenmo old ghost is only 3 feet away from Yuanqing. At the moment, Yuanqing was numb to the fear and pressure of the Yang Devil old ghost. He slowly raised his head and looked calmly at the Yang Devil old ghost who was only 3 feet away from him. His expressionless appearance made the Yang Devil old ghost steps slowly slow down. Then an anger rushed to his heart. He was frightened by a dying man. The pace at his feet suddenly accelerated and reached Yuanqing's body in a few breathing times. Jie, Yuanqing, I'm afraid you were still thinking about how to kill me after breaking the ban. It's a pity that I was a little earlier than you, Jie. As soon as the Yenmo old ghost's palm explored, an inky black 3-foot-long sword appeared in his hand. He held the sword handle tightly with both hands, slowly raised the sword above his head, stared at Yuanqing with both eyes, and his eyes were full of bloodthirsty meaning. Then the long sword in his hand suddenly chopped down. Good chance. Xianhua finger, kill. Xiao Yan saw the opportunity and immediately dived down. At the same time, he hit the Xianhua finger and showed it. At this time, the Yang Devil old ghost was about to kill Yuanqing, but just when the dark black sword was less than a foot away from Yuanqing's head, the Yang Devil old ghost suddenly forced his wrist to turn and turned back towards the top of his head. Click! The temporary defense of the Yang Devil old ghost didn't play much role. After only resisting for a moment, the long black sword in the Yang Devil old ghost's hand broke in response to a clear sound of breaking. Xiao Yan's violent finger continued to rush towards the Yang Devil old ghost after a pause. Feeling the coming terrible and dangerous breath, the old devil's face was dignified. He could clearly feel the extraordinary of this move. If the move in front of him really bombarded him, I'm afraid he would be seriously injured even if he didn't die. Once he was seriously injured, what he had to face was the choice of life and death. How can you easily put down the Xiao Yan that the Yen-more-old ghost has earned after cultivating for so many years? Since he can't put it down, he can only give up some things. Now it seems that the attack of the Xianhua finger is determined not to escape. He has already been locked by the breath of the Xianhua finger, so he can only try his best to avoid the key of the body. Thinking that is to do it, the Yen-more-old ghost looked at the Xianhua finger rapidly approaching him, and his body suddenly twisted in the air, successfully avoiding the key parts of his body. Huangquan Tianyu. Mao? Suddenly, the body of the old devil was dodging a little, and then he reacted, but it was too late. The strong fought, and the victory or defeat was in one moment, so the next moment. Ah! With the sound of the body being penetrated, the young devil and the old ghost screamed violently, and then the body was shocked by the huge impact and flew backward. The body was close to the ground, leaving a slip mark hundreds of meters on the ground. Along the way, it also broke several huge ancient trees, and finally hit a rock wall. The body was embedded in the hard rock wall before it stopped. Xiao Yan stood quietly in place, looked at Yuan Qing, who was healing with the help of pills, and then looked forward to the direction of the old devil. Although the Yang Devil old ghost was indeed hit by Xiao Yan's dark fire finger and broke dozens of ancient trees along the way, his strength reached their level, and his body was already extremely strong. For him, this injury was just some skin trauma. As long as he recovered for a period of time, he would recover completely. Boom! The stone scraps shot everywhere, bringing up a burst of fog. A gust of breeze blew the fog, and the fog dispersed. From it, a slightly weak figure appeared. It's not necessary to be based on the physical cultivation of Yang Devil and Old Ghost, but it was hurt by the two incarnations of Yuan Qing before, and then suffered a blow from Xiao Yang's dark fire finger, so it looked a little weak. At this time, all the black robes on the whole body of the Yang Devil Old Ghost were broken, and most of the black fog around the body also dissipated, revealing the body of the Yang Devil Old Ghost originally hidden in it. From the appearance, the body was as thin as firewood, and the skin was dry. On the right shoulder, there was a burnt black hole the size of a thumb, obviously burned by fire. There was also a faint smell of charred barbecue. The Yang Devil Old Ghost looked at the wound on his right shoulder in surprise. The imagined injury did not arrive as scheduled. Seeing that he was not hurt much, the Yang Devil Old Ghost immediately relaxed. He thought that this person's attack was just such a bluff. He looked at Xiao Yang in the distance with a look of ridicule until he saw the sneer on Xiao Yang's face opposite. He suddenly realized that something was wrong. Pang! The next moment, the Yang Devil Old Ghost suddenly made a violent roar, and then the whole person spit blood and shoot backward like a bad blow. With a bang, he fell into the rock again and couldn't move. This video will end here.